Welcome back to my mental health and crime channel. My name is Huda London. This is the Idaho quadruple murders, the case that happened on the 13th of November 2022. May the four victims rest in peace. Condolence to their families. These were the speculations, and actually they could have been facts, although they were debunked for whatever reason. I've showed them many times in my channel. The red Mustang that was found in St. Deacon's Avenue was, I believe, 10 days or a week after the quadruple murders. You can see the forensic team with the suits. But yet the police said it had nothing to do with the crime scene. Now what is interesting is Jack John Showalter got into a red Mustang when the girls left. Is this why Brian Christopher Kohlberger and his team want to put Bethany Funk on the stand? Is this the exculpatory evidence she has? The detectives are standing outside her window. Did the people who called 911 stage the scene, allegedly? The living room is upstairs. You can clearly see the forensics team in St. Deacon's Avenue.
Two surviving roommates arrived home that night before the victims and were likely sleeping at the time of the attack.
What I can say is that the roommates who survived, they were in the basement throughout the night.
They awakened several hours later, summoning friends when one of their roommates was unresponsive. Officers arriving on scene, locating the victims, and this morning saying Kaylee Gonzalez's dog was also found unharmed at the home. That dog, seen in this TikTok video taken just weeks ago, showing Kaylee, Madison, and Shanna inside the house.
There's no forced entry, and there's no dog barking. Do we think it was someone that they knew?
We don't know if the dog was barking or not, so that's part of the ongoing investigation to figure out kind of what occurred. It would be difficult to speculate whether or not it was a known suspect or a total stranger.
The coroner revealing that while Kaylee, Madison Mogan, Shanna Kernodle, and Chapin were also likely asleep at the time of the attack, there was evidence of defensive wounds. DNA samples are being tested by the state lab now. Police say evidence shows the students may have been targeted, but investigators are not elaborating.
More than a week after the fatal stabbings of 4 University of Idaho students, still no answers as to who did this and why.
Moscow's always been a very safe community. In some ways, this took our innocence.
The families of Kaylee Gonzalez, Madison Mogan, Shanna Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin hoping for justice as police in the small town of Moscow team up with the FBI to follow any leads. Investigators revealing they were told in interviews that Kaylee had mentioned a possible stalker.
We have followed up, looking at specific time frames in specific areas of town. So far, we have not been able to corroborate it, but we're not done looking into that piece of information.
More than 100 pieces of evidence, 1,000 tips, 150 interviews, and hundreds of hours of police work, but authorities say they had no suspects or murder weapon.
I just didn't feel like it was very real. We don't usually lock our doors.
The University of Idaho stepping up security and ramping up police presence.
Nothing I can say will make this better. But please know that we stand with you in wanting whoever is responsible captured and brought to justice.
For now, school officials advising students to travel in pairs, and ramping up police presence.
Nothing I can say will make this better. But please know that we stand with you in wanting whoever is responsible captured and brought to justice.
Isn't it strange that the principal wants and wanted justice, but is quite in a hurry to demolish the property, the crime scene? Just saying. I want y'all to pay extra attention to what was said by the ABC, I believe, or NBC reporter. This was like 3 weeks into the search before Brian Christopher Kohlberger was arrested.
Victims' families have expressed frustration with a lack of information.
Together, we want to extend gratitude to the following.
This week, the family of Ethan Chapin acknowledged answers and justice can only come now from police.
The Moscow Police Department, who now carry the burden every day, not only for us, but for all of the impacted families.
You know, I asked about the threat level to the community given the initial confusion of that message, and Aaron Snell here told me that it's always a good idea to be vigilant since the suspect hasn't been caught, saying that it's a good idea to walk in pairs, to lock doors at night, and he did not rule out the possibility of perhaps more than one person responsible for these killings. I also asked about this being a targeted attack, and he reiterated that they still believe that it was, based on evidence found at the scene and the fact that 2 people in the house survived the attack. So if it were a bit more non-discriminate, that perhaps everyone might have died. We hope to hear much more information coming out at a press conference tomorrow at 1 p.m. local time, John. Perhaps more than one person responsible for these killings. I also asked about this being a targeted attack, and he reiterated that they still believe that it was, based on evidence found at the scene and the fact that 2 people in the house survived the attack. So if it were a bit more non-discriminate, that perhaps everyone might have died. We hope to hear much more information coming out at a press conference tomorrow at 1 p.m. local time. An attack, and he reiterated that they still believe that it was, based on evidence found at the scene and the fact that 2 people in the house survived the attack. So if it were a bit more non-discriminate, that perhaps everyone might have died. We hope